And we've got all the right in the world on our side. And there ain't no reason to be afraid. And there ain't no reason to not take the challenge dead on. Because I'm going to tell you who we come from, folks. We don't come from some weak, jellyback, spineless people. That's not who we come from. None of us. And it doesn't matter what color you are, what nation your folks hail from, how much money you got. We all share the same name. We are Americans. And at Bunker Hill, there was Americans. And at Fredericksburg and Gettysburg, there was Americans. And at Iwo Jima, raising that flag on Suribachi, it was Americans. And at Pork Chop Hill, there was Americans. Quezon, there was Americans. And on 9/11, there was Americans who ran towards those burning buildings. That is who you share your heritage with. You do not share your heritage with a weak and ineffective people who cower at the sight of trouble. You share your heritage with a strong and brave people who are determined to hold on to their freedom and for the freedom of future generations. Guys, it's time for us to stand up and be that generation. It's time for us to stand strong and proud and remember who we are. That we are Americans. And as long as we stand as the vanguard of freedom in this nation, freedom will survive you. Not only survive, it will thrive. So guys, it's time to put on our packs. It's time to fix those bayonets. It's time to get ready. We got a fight on our hands. And our fight is not for us, for all those generations that's going to come behind us. Let's save America, folks.
We hold these truths to be self-evident. That all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Okay, folks, welcome to the program. How's it going? Listen, raise a finger and share this program. We're gonna do a little go back in time to kind of show you, which is going to hit you like a wreck, going to hit you like a head on when you understand how all of this works. But it's necessary. A lot of chatter about, the voting machines, what's going on, why aren't people in jail, all this other stuff. We know it. I want to share some things with you to kind of fine tune your education in understanding and also why words make a difference. They always have, they always will. Will you please raise a finger, share, like, rumble this program? Follow me if you don't follow me, wherever it is, whether it be Instagram, whether it be YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, whatever it is, make sure you click so you know when the program is. We try to keep it simple. It's 7 a.m., 7 p.m., 7 days a week, Central Standard Time. That's why I tell you that, because chances are you won't get your notification. Just remember the time frame. By the way, Rumble is my base channel. So we're going to talk some crap today, and I think you'll see things maybe in a different way you haven't seen before. By the way, today's program is brought to you by the fine folks at Gold Code, who we partner with. Here's what I'm asking you to do: request your free gold and silver kit, because now is the time to protect your money with gold and silver, especially if you have a 401k, IRA, retirement savings account, etc. I started telling you this when gold was under $1,500. Now it's what, $4,500 or whatever it is. We're not talking about gold investing, so don't misinterpret that. We're not talking about silver investing. We're not talking about investing other than CYAing. Please, if you haven't done it, go to jovanlovesgold.com. Get the information. Feed your brain. Got another one for you if you want to feed your body, especially being, year-end, holiday time. How about this? You got the year-end sale going, folks, from CB Distillery. It's the one sale you need at the right time of the year is what it is. The CB Distillery's year-end sale. Save 50% on everything with promo code RUMBLE. If the holiday chaos, late nights, and all the stuff going on left you feeling wanked, worn out, well, it's time for CBD from CB Distillery. They've got natural solutions for just about everything: better sleep, less stress, more calm, improved mood and focus, pain relief after workout, even CBD for pets. My go-to is the roll-on pain relief. Ask people in chat. CB Distillery is different. Their hemp is grown right here in the U.S., third-party tested, free from artificial dyes or fillers, just clean premium CBD solutions. And that's why I trust them. Okay? Seriously, don't miss this at all. By the way, you're going to treat yourself with this, but you're going to treat yourself to 50% off. You've got to use the right promo code. So head on over to cbdistillery.com. Use promo code RUMBLE, not my name like normally, right? 50% off. If you've had any issues with it, let me know. It's 50% off. It really depends on your order, and some things, whether if you have regular orders or not, there's some variabilities, but it should be giving you 50% off. Check it out, folks. Please do. Check it out. Again, you can always email if you've got issues. I saw that. If you've got issues, we'll get right on it. We'll figure out what's up. Here's how you can scan it. But it's the year-end sale. Get on it. Okay. I'm gonna show you a bunch of video clips. We're gonna talk about where your mind is today versus where it was. If you're brand new to my program, hey Diana, how you doing over on YouTube? If you're brand new to my program, it's always a process when I do it. I'm not a headline reader. I'm not a retweet, what everybody's talking about. I'm here to educate. I am an educator. That's my goal with you. Information is what sets you free. Okay? You have to understand it. But you're going to see something today that you will not be able to turn away from. The bad side of it, it'll probably piss you off. The good side of it is once you see it, then you can defend against it. Because remember, you can't defend against a system that does it to you if you don't know how they do it to you. You just can't. It's the way it is. And my job is to make you the smartest patriot in the room. And that's why I talk about cutting the crap, culture, race, and American politics. So we are going to look at court of law and why words and rules matter. And in my personal opinion, the election trials were sabotaged. And we're going to talk about that. Share this program right now. Might be something very important. You sit down with your family and review. Let's get started right after this.
Not fixing 2020 will damn our nation forever. The historic Maricopa County full forensic audit effort processed 20,895,610 digital and forensic images of varying formats, resulted in 208 million individual evidence-proof files. The system processed over 58 billion forensic measurements, resulting in over 2 trillion individual base computations. No hopium, no hype, just hardcore forensic evidence. Please make sure the Maricopa County full forensic audit archives survive. Donate now. So if you want what happened in the 2020 election fixed, then please donate to protect and secure this historic evidence. We can't do it without you. We need you. America needs you. Our future needs you. Please donate now.
Warning. The following program has been rated Dilligaff and is intended for open-minded audiences. If the truth offends you, or if you are allergic to focused intensity, intellectual athleticism, or the occasional F-bomb or even irreverent humor, please switch off now. If your delicate sensibilities need to be worried about or addressed, might we recommend the Underwater Basket Weaving channel to you? Otherwise, sit back, enjoy the wisdom, insight, and wicked sense of humor.
Cut the crap. How many times a day do you want to say that to politicians, the elite, the loony liberals, the fake news media, In the gender-confused, emotional socialist snowflake crowd, cut the crap is your secret weapon for fighting for our freedoms and our great republic. It all begins with a massive mental enema, freeing you from the toxic news and politically correct views, which constipate your consciousness with stinking thinking. Your host, Jovan Hutton Pulitzer. He's known for calling out politicians and telling them to cut the crap. You've seen him on virtually every television network and listened to him on Coast to Coast Radio. And now he's here to help you learn to fight for America. Culture, race, and American politics. They all have one thing in common. They all need to cut the crap. Now, here's your host, Jovan Hutton Pulitzer.
Okay, folks, we're going to talk about court of law and why words and rules matter. And I'm going to share with you what I believe is the election trials were sabotaged. I know that's kind of a hard statement, but 2026 is going to be the fight for our life. Writing's already on the wall. It's already there. It's happening. We're in trouble. If we continue to do what we've been doing, I don't know that the United States of America will ever pull out of it. I want to explain something psychologically to you as to where you are. And here's an interesting thing. We're literally still fighting. It's the machines. We're literally still fighting. I saw them change the vote on TV. They changed the votes. There is a study of human nature, and these people will fight with you tooth and nail. I love pillows. Pillows are so great. They're saving the elections. They'll fight with you tooth and nail, but there's a psychological effect that's called. Pay attention.
Here's the thing. The Dunning-Kruger effect. It says that the less you know, the more you think you know, and the more certain you are of it. Certainty is not a measure of knowledge. In fact, confidence often peaks before competence. When you know very little, you don't yet know how much there is to know. So everything feels obvious. Everything that you think you understand is clear. But as understanding truly grows, certainty drops, nuance appears, questions multiply. But that's not weakness, that's learning. And precision in language forces a certain humility, because certainty resists, and the loudest voices are rarely the most informed. They're usually just the least aware of their own blind spots. And that's food for thought.
Boy, isn't that true? Now, as we start this, I'm going to show you a few things. Because remember, we're talking about courts, we're talking about rules, we're talking about rule of law. Okay? I want you to look at this post. Here's what it says. Maricopa County Recorder Stephen Richter has always been untrustworthy. We're going back to 2020. Remember, he lied under oath that he did not create a PAC that opposed Kari Lake. I'm going to read it again. Maricopa County Recorder Stephen Richter has always been untrustworthy. Remember when he lied under oath that he did not create a PAC that opposed Kari Lake. Okay. Are you with me? I'm going to show you something first in regards to that statement. I'm going to show you some evidence regarding Stephen Richter. You can read it on your screen. Thanks to a few generous donors, it is now launching. Join me if you care about traditional Republican stuff, free people, free markets, rule of law, but also don't believe in conspiracies about the 2020 election or that January 6th was a tourist event. That's Stephen Richter. You can see his account. I'm going to play through some of these. You're going to be able to read them on your screen. I've got them on video so you can see it. Here he is admitting, right? Donors, PACs. Do you understand it? It's here. Stephen Richter creates PAC to back pro-democracy Republicans. There it is. You can see it. Okay? He's the fellow that said there was nothing wrong in 2020. Okay, here it is. Stephen Richter, has created a new political action committee called Pro-Democracy Republicans of Arizona. Okay, I mean, you can read it right there. You can read it right there. Now, it's backed up. It's out there. Arizona Mirror, as you know, it's not really a news or reporting organization. It's funded by the Soros money, and it's completely designed to attack the conservative side. So you have to ask, why are they running an article about Steve Richter? Okay. So now we're going to go to the Kari Lake trial. When Stephen Richter is in the hot seat. Okay, you follow me? We're going to go right to the trial. Here we go.
Isn't it true that you ran a political action committee that was opposed and spent money opposing my client for Augusta?
That is 100% false.
Okay, so you heard him say it was 100% false. Listen again. Here is Blemish asking about Richter running a PAC.
Isn't it true that you ran a political action committee that was opposed and spent money opposing my client for Augusta?
That is 100% false.
Now, I showed you the post. I showed you all the information that's out there. Now I just showed you the court. Some of you are really smart. I know it makes you sick, and you should repost this. And I know you're saying, what a jerk, etc. It's always the opposite. No. See, you got to understand that Richter did not lie on the witness stand. You're going to be so pissed at me as I show you these things. Stephen Richter did not lie on the witness stand.
Isn't it true that you ran a political action committee that was opposed and spent money opposing my client for Augusta?
That is 100% false.
100% false?
Correct.
Thank you.
So the attorney, right, didn't push it. That's Blim. Now, let me ask you a question. Did he lie? Put it in chat. Did he lie in court? I just showed you all kinds of articles that he set up a political action committee. He funded, he took funding. Did Shaggy lie? And the answer is no. You know why he didn't lie? Why didn't he lie? Because the attorney gave him the out. You know why? Because the attorney asked him if he ran a PAC. Listen again. He asked him if he ran a PAC.
Isn't it true that you ran a political action committee that was opposed and spent money opposing my client for Augusta?
That is 100% false.
100% false?
Correct.
Thank you.
He did not run it. He never ran it. He didn't set it up to run it. So why would an attorney, he never set it up to run it? It's a proven fact. Why would the attorney do that? Because that is how it works. Period. I've always told you word matter. I just hit you in the face because people will swear that son of a bitch lied on the stand. He did not. He told the truth. You just can't handle the truth. So see, the fault is not Stephen Richter. You watched all of these posts, I talked about the PAC, but see, that's the difference. The difference is you're only as good as your attorney, and sometimes attorneys can play for the other team. And all you do is get pissed off. Every single article about this talks about how he established a PAC, which is not against the law. The attorney asks the question, is it true you run a PAC? No, because he does not run, because there's a definition of run. You get it? Do you get it yet? Do you understand why I say election trials were sabotaged? Because, see, everybody gets all pissed off, all upset. These freaking judges. I get attacked this way all the time. No, Jovan, you don't understand. The judges are corrupt. They don't whatever. And I said, no. They'll always give you a bad guy. But they rely on that effect that you don't know the difference. And you swear, you got him on the stand and that son of a bitch lied under oath. No, he did not. You may hate it. You may hate me for it. But you know what, folks? He did not lie under oath. And this is that effect. That's why I told you that. This is why I'm showing you this. This is why I've always told you freaking words matter. And you've been played. By the way, Linda, God bless you. 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 God bless you for that incredible, wonderful tip, donation. Everything goes to election integrity. Thank you. I appreciate you much doing that. Thank you. But see, folks, this is all about your education. Look how many pillowites you fight every day trying to kind of get them to understand, and they get to zealot level. No, it's this. It's changed on TV. I saw it. They got PCAPs. That's the psychology of this. You can literally sit there and that attorney will tell you they're fighting to clean up elections. But an attorney that knows their stuff does not make that kind of mistake. And you heard that dialogue. It seems very innocent. But it all hinges on the turn of a word. So you got to understand the exact wording can change the legal meaning. Small differences like I think versus I know, might versus will. Did you did can matter for admissions, intent, credibility, defamation, threats, contracts, and whether a statement is hearsay or not. It's the bottom line, folks. A trial can swing on a single word because court isn't about storytelling. It's rules-based. One word can change what the jury is allowed to hear and what a witness is legally admitting or what burden the other side suddenly has to meet. Here are the differences. It flips a switch in the courtroom. It flips a switch in the courtroom, folks. And this, I keep on trying to share everybody this rig. And people that I love, that are part of the family and watch the program every day, call me out on it. No, those judges are just bad. No, the court has switches. By the way, Mr. Hader, thank you so very much. Thank you so very much for that. God bless every one of you. Here's the switch. It's the difference between evidence versus argument, or admissible versus excluded, or credible versus impeached, or element proven or missing, or reasonable doubt created versus not. So yes, you can hate away on it. You can get pissed at me. I'm only the educator in the process. I'm just showing you how this works. Now we're going to go through this. If you want a sobering reality of how this con works, I invite you to go back and watch the 3 days of trial. And I'm almost convinced we'll put it together and run it for you as a marathon. You should go back and watch the Kari Lake trial with what you know now. This is the difference. This is why they get away with it. Period. I'll give you an example.
Reporting. And now to the latest on the lawsuit filed by Republican candidate for governor Kari Lake. A Maricopa County Superior Court judge has dismissed 8 of the 10 counts in Lake's lawsuit against her opponent, Democrat Katie Hobbs. In one of the remaining counts, Lake alleges printers malfunctioned on Election Day, and the judge has ruled that Lake must show at trial that the printer malfunctions were intentional and directly affected the outcome of election results. The other count deals with the ballot chain of custody and whether the county complied with its own manual and applicable state statutes. Trial has scheduled now.
Now,
Reporting.
I want you to listen to the words. Let me just ask you a question. Do you think news reporters know anything about election law? No. But you know what they do is they do get the wording right. Everything, I am totally convinced, everything is designed to keep you freaking pissed off. And if they can keep you pissed off, they keep you from learning. And if they can keep you from learning, you actually get more emboldened. Let me play it again.
Here's the thing. The Dunning-Kruger effect. It says that the less you know, the more you think you know, and the more certain you are of it. Certainty is not a measure of knowledge. In fact, confidence often peaks before competence. When you know very little, you don't yet know how much there is to know. So everything feels obvious. Everything that you think you understand is clear. But as understanding truly grows, certainty drops, nuance appears, questions multiply. But that's not weakness, that's learning. And precision in language forces a certain humility, because certainty resists, and the loudest voices are rarely the most informed. They're usually just the least aware of their own blind spots. And that's food for thought.
Okay, so I want you to know, I'm not asking anybody in my chat to practice law. I'm not asking anybody in chat to, go over here and look at this. That's not what I'm asking. I'm asking you to stay on topic and learn this lesson. See, history is our teacher here. And I am telling you, I 100% believe the election trials were intentionally sabotaged. That's my personal opinion. That is my personal opinion in it, because I think attorneys should know the rule of law. I have to give them benefit of doubt that they do. So if they do, if they pass the bar, if they're in fact doing it, why are there so many fumbles? Now, I want you to listen to the news crew again and ask yourself, do you actually believe the news desk knows the rule of law? And pay attention to what they tell you.
Reporting. And now to the latest on the lawsuit filed by Republican candidate for governor Kari Lake. A Maricopa County Superior Court judge has dismissed 8 of the 10 counts in Lake's lawsuit against her opponent, Democrat Katie Hobbs. In one of the remaining counts, Lake alleges printers malfunctioned on Election Day, and the judge has ruled that Lake must show at trial that the printer malfunctions were intentional and directly affected the outcome of election results. The other count deals with the ballot chain of custody and whether the county complied with its own manual and applicable state statutes. Trial has scheduled now.
Must show it's intentional and must show it changed the outcome of the election. I've taught on it. Tough Rider, I understand what you're doing. I ask you to have some patience for the thousands of people across the platforms. See, we're not talking about what should be done now. We're talking about what has gone on, what you should know, how this worked, why we're in this position. I'm not even talking about remedies. I'm talking about what happened and why. And you need to understand how it happened, even though it was sitting in court. So let's don't make this about different jurisdictions or tribunals or whatever the case may be, because you'll miss the point. Now, you basically understand the rule of law is you must show intent and that it actually made a material difference to the outcome of the election. I won't beat that one. You can go back and watch my archives. Now let's watch some of this testimony and analyze it.
But first, our big story. Attorneys for Kari Lake trying for a second and final day to prove intentional Election Day issues in Maricopa County with ballot chain of custody.
How do the reporters know this? Because they're given what to say and they're given cover.
But first, our big story. Attorneys for Kari Lake trying for a second and final day to prove intentional Election Day issues in Maricopa County with ballot chain of custody and tampering with printers change the outcome of the election.
It is a high bar, but ABC 15 political reporter Mark Phillips says it's the only way Lake could get a judge to throw out the election results.
Lawyers representing Kari Lake in her election lawsuit trial wrapped up their case Thursday with pollster Richard Barris of Big Data Polls in Florida. Barris says between 22 and 40,000 voters were disenfranchised on Election Day, and he thinks most of those votes would have gone to Lake. Barris bases his conclusion on a last-minute question he added to his exit poll. He asked people if they experienced problems at the polls, and the number of respondents who promised to participate in his exit poll but did not.
But the difference here is almost 20 points. It's roughly 20 percentage points. It's a significant finding. And I can only, like, in my professional opinion, I've done many of these exit polls. These people didn't complete this questionnaire because they didn't vote.
The Secretary of State's office had their own expert, Kenneth Mayer, a member of the University of Wisconsin's Election Research Center. Mayer has designed and executed polls for 30 years. He's also studied long lines at the polls and their impact. Mayer challenged Lake's experts' conclusions, saying they're based on speculation, not facts.
I think what Mr. Barris is doing is he's relying on jargon to give a veneer of scientific precision to his calculations, again, that there's no basis for.
Judge Peter Thompson will review the evidence and make a ruling sometime next week. Mark Phillips, ABC 15, Arizona.
So here's my first question. What's wrong? Okay. What's wrong with this particular expert witness? Although he's a rock star in polling. Tell me in chat what's wrong with this particular witness, okay? What's wrong? What's wrong? Okay? Period. What is wrong with this issue as an expert witness? Now, you understand, an expert witness in the court, you have to bring evidence of intent. You have to bring evidence that it made a material difference in the outcome of the election. Just so you know, pollsters can be used in court. Here are the keys they're used for. You ready? When there's a trademark dispute, they can do a poll, bring it into court that say, if you were thinking about this brand, did this happen? They can do a poll about defamation. Hey, do you think this person got defamed? They can do a poll about false advertising or consumer deceptions. And sometimes they're used in class actions because they have to understand the input, right? Polls are almost always used not as the truth of what happened, but as evidence of what a population perceives. So let me ask you a question. This is a material witness that Blemish put up to support Kari Lake's claim the election went wrong. They took it from me. So the first question I ask you, why did the attorney put somebody up that says, well, my perception is, my opinion is, I think it is? Do you understand why I'm saying our election trials were sabotaged? And basically, this is, number one, he's presenting it as evidence, but when all it is really an argument. They're saying it's admissible. No, it's excluded. Why? Because it is an opinion. This is how this entire racket works. Let's go into this opinion that was put on the stand as an expert witness that they intended to take the election and it made a material difference in the outcome.
Mr. Olson, in my professional opinion, and some of this is not opinion, we know the vote totals in these areas that we're talking about. We know what the margins were. In my opinion, in my professional opinion, this did have an impact on the outcome. It definitely impacted the outcome. The only question for me is whether it had the potential to change the result. And in my opinion, in my professional opinion, I believe it did have that. It was substantial enough to change the leaderboard. It was.
When you say change the leaderboard, do you mean that it would have changed the outcome?
Right now, Miss Lake would be ahead. Yes. We added a question that basically said, did you have any issues or run into any complications while attempting to vote, such as tabulators rejecting ballots or running out of paper when at the polling station? And we took this from issues that voters were telling us. The bottom line here is that those who said they would cast their vote by mail or drop their ballot off by mail completed their questionnaire at a 93% rate. There are always going to be people who tell you that they're going to participate in your poll, but then don't, especially in exit polls. The rate for election day voters was only 72%. So that I can tell you that it's never happened to me before, ever.
And why is that significant?
It's significant because, looking at, we can go through it a lot more in depth, but looking at all the totality of it, there's no explanation for why these voters simply did not come back. They didn't cast their ballot. There's always going to be a difference, but the difference here is almost 20 points. It's roughly 20 percentage points. It's a significant finding. And I can only, in my professional opinion, I've done many of these exit polls. These people didn't complete this questionnaire because they didn't vote. They didn't get to vote. And I don't know why anybody would agree to participate in an exit poll and then not show up in such large, why would they not vote and then complete the interview? This just doesn't happen. Republicans were absolutely disproportionately impacted by this.
Okay, you ready? What facts were presented? He can attest that John, who he polled, was in fact standing at a vote center, said, I'll do your poll, went in, voted, came back out and do the poll. He can absolutely attest to that fact, correct? Now, let me ask you a question, because here's where it is. Was he presenting evidence or was he presenting an argument? That's the court switch. Was he presenting evidence or was he presenting an argument? Was he presenting evidence or was he presenting an argument? You got it. He was presenting an argument. He was arguing that he believes this is what happened in his opinion. Was he presenting evidence or was he presenting an argument? Now, let me give you an example. All of this, I believe, is theatrics designed to piss you off because you know it was totally screwed up. You know, I don't need people telling me in chat, well, Katie Hobbs was, that's not the issue. In case you didn't get it, I am talking about rule of law and evidence. I don't care how pissed off you got. I don't care how much you knew that something was wrong and people didn't come back and vote. You can't prove it by a poll. You can only prove it when you line up the people en masse. I went, they fucked with the paper. I didn't feel I could vote. I went home. And then that's still not evidence. Do you know why? Because the voter themselves decided to go home. Do you get it? This may help you understand why I am discussing court of law and why words and rules matter, and were our election trials sabotaged? Mr. Barris has nothing to do with it. Mr. Barris did his job, applied his expertise. So who did this? Answer the question in chat. Who did this to the people? Who did this to the people? I'm showing you why we lose in court. Who did this to the people? And at the end of the day, when you understand the attorneys did this to the people. See, the attorneys are responsible not only for deciding who's going to testify or whatever. They should know what's evidence or what's argument. For me, I believe this was done on purpose. You cannot convince me otherwise. And the reason you can't convince me otherwise, we're going to get to the printers. Pause. The reason you cannot convince me otherwise is because it's the attorney's responsibility to know this. Not a single person in this mix. They really didn't know what other people were going to testify about. For me, every bit of this was a setup. I'm going to show you more. Don't leave. Right? But you have to understand what a pollster's job is when it comes to court. A poll by default is what the population believes. Therefore, all they can present is what the population believes. His testimony was what he believes. And what he was doing is he was presenting an argument, but the attorneys let him in there, and you thought because he's sitting in a witness box as an expert that he was presenting evidence. Not at all. Not at all. He did his job. Bang on. He did his job. He did his job. He did his job. But was it evidence of intent or evidence that showed there was a material change in the difference of the outcome? This is not about the bar. This is not about the bar. This is not about the bar. This is about words for civilians. See, if you don't understand how they do it to you, you can't hold any of this to account. Because so many people watched that, right? So many people watched that and got pissed off. It's true, it's true, it's true. I believe it was designed to keep you in chaos. Because when you're in chaos, you make poor decisions. You make poor decisions. You were told, the attorney asked Richter, did you run a PAC? I believe crap like that was deliberate.
Isn't it true that you ran a political action committee that was opposed and spent money opposing my client for custody?
That is 100% false.
100% false?
Correct.
Thank you.
Everything shows that Stephen Richter founded a PAC, which is allowed, which is not a crime. He even founded a PAC against Kari Lake. Does that mean he was Kari Lake's enemy? No. But the attorney didn't ask, did you create a PAC? No, did he? Right? Shaggy asked, Scooby-Doo is in the background snickering, do you run? And so what happened is they absolutely let him off the hook. Period. Okay. Here's the topic of my program. The topic of my program is not the Bar Association. You know why I know it's not about the Bar Association? Let me tell you why my program today is not about the Bar Association. Tell me where I put today's topic is the Bar Association. Can you see it anywhere on what this is? You can't. I'm only talking about why rules and words matter. And I'm talking about the election trials sabotaged. Did the Bar Association sabotage this trial? No. The attorneys did. Stay focused or leave. Because you got to understand, if you cannot understand this point, if you can't understand how this is done, we as a public cannot fix it. And so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get through to we the people. Look over here, the Bar Association. Look over here, sovereign citizens. That's what the system does. And some people do it well. And I get the question, the goddamn law form is tied directly to it. No, you don't understand. And yes, I'm talking to you. I didn't ask you for your opinion on the bar. This is not about the bar. Slow down. Slow down. I don't need people going to look up the bar. See, the bar system didn't create the words. They just created attorneys. The attorneys are the one that understand how to manipulate the system. I'm focusing on the election trials, which means I'm focusing on the attorneys. The bar system did not create this. This isn't a jurisdiction issue. This isn't, is the bar relevant or not? This isn't, they're in England and it's all this. It has nothing to do with it. It has to do directly with these attorneys I'm showing. And so what I'm asking people to do is look at the Kari Lake trial. That's why I suggest to people, if your issue is being a sovereign citizen or you want to talk about the bar, many people should do their own program. What I'm asking people to do is to get how this works and how it worked specifically in election integrity, specifically in Arizona, specifically, okay, how they use it against us. So I'm not in the UK. I'm not in the accreditation system or any of that. Because if we get in the UK and we get in the accreditation systems, people fucking eyes glaze over. Eyes glaze over, okay? I too stayed in a Holiday Inn last night. But I'm telling you, I'm trying to reduce this to the most simplest simplest way for people to understand how this works. Because, see, it's a double-edged sword. You know what the double-edged sword is? You sit and you scream at these court cases. You get pissed. You go on social media and you rage. They need that. They need that. They need everybody to think they've got it right and to get fucking righteously indignant. It's an operation.
Here's the thing. The Dunning-Kruger effect. It says that the less you know, the more you think you know, and the more certain you are of it. Certainty is...
That's my point. We got enough people screaming. We got enough people pissed off. And their game is to keep everybody pissed off. Because you watch these trials and you get freaking pissed. That's giving them what they want. That's giving them what they want. This is not about why Trump doesn't bar the Bar Association. That's not the topic either. It's not. I'm trying to peel this onion back to its most simplest level. So the first thing is just clear understanding of how it happened. What I'm actually combating is people that are smart people saying, oh, the judges are just corrupt. No. It comes down to words. And when the system uses that against you, they understand it. They completely understand how to do this manipulation. It comes down sometimes to singular words. Singular words. And yes, let me tell you, some people get upset. We're a bunch of third graders or fifth graders. Let me tell you the truth. People, you should not believe that I'm talking to people that have followed me for 5 years on this. No. I'm talking to my relatives who possess one tooth in their mouth, who goes to a Luby's cafeteria and orders, I want some of those titers and I want some of those miters. That's all I'm doing. Some people will say I'm talking belittling. No. I'm bringing it way down so there's no way to miss the point. But then there's a lot of people that want to keep on adding shit that take it away. The one thing I understand is where people miss what's wrong. They expect the courts to fix it. You get pissed off because you say justice wasn't served. That's the design of chaos. They want you to believe everything fails. But if I can get you back to understand where it really fails, then you kind of step back and you go, fuck, we got to fix this. You quit yelling. You quit screaming. You quit being indignant. You certainly don't give them what they want, being pissed off. You very calmly understand how it works and why this was invalid. And then you understand at that point, a civilian, a regular person, understands how to educate somebody else. Right? That's it. That's it. That's it. And that's the whole reason I'm doing it. Listen again.
Here's the thing. The Dunning-Kruger effect. It says that the less you know, the more you think you know, and the more certain you are of it. Certainty is not a measure of knowledge. In fact, confidence often peaks before competence. When you know very little, you don't yet know how much there is to know. So everything feels obvious. Everything that you think you understand is clear. But as understanding truly grows, certainty drops, nuance appears, questions multiply. But that's not weakness, that's learning. And precision in language forces a certain humility, because certainty resists, and the loudest voices are rarely the most informed. They're usually just the least aware of their own blind spots. And that's food for thought.
Now, let me tell you my personal opinion of the system and the road to the system. When it's sitting in front of a judge or a jury, that's when I think people are in system when it comes to trials. Many times people will just assume that judge is bad or that judge is corrupt. What many people don't do is go backwards and analyze every step that got the case in system to begin with. Because, see, there are other systems, right? There are other systems. I'm telling you, right? And I just want you to understand a few things. Who funded this? Who funded the very attorneys that decide what was going to get presented in court? Put it in chat. Who funded the suit and the attorneys? Put it in chat. That's right. Mike Lindell. So you have to go back not to the event of what happened in the election, because we haven't got to that yet. We got to go back to who funded this case. Who handpicked the attorneys? Mike Lindell. Who funded Mike Lindell? Who funded Mike Lindell? You did. Did Mike Lindell, in the few cases I've shown you, we're going to keep on going back. In this one instance, I'm only talking about this one instance with Scooby-Doo and Shaggy in the thing, and they asked the guy, did you run a PAC? Which was never the point. Did Mike Lindell spend your money wisely? You're going to basically, right? You're going to basically get a lesson in this. See, that's why I'm not worried about the fucking bar or sovereign citizens. I'm not worried about that shit. I'm worried about your shit. And I want you to get your shit together. Because you funded this. I was part of the problem. I ran those commercials all freaking day long, and I love the pillows. Absolutely love the fucking pillows. But did you ever notice in my own programming what happened to things I would talk about and offer to you? Did you ever notice I stopped running pillow commercials? Did you happen to notice that in my program for the last several years? Even though I could always do it. Do you ever notice I stopped? Tell me if you've noticed that I stopped. Why did I stop when I could and I can get commissions? Why did I stop? Because I refused to lull you into funding something I knew was broken, and I was questioning, this ain't right. And I exercised my free damn will. I will not do that to you, no matter that a check can be cut. Period. Period. That's my personal ethic. I could get checks if I wanted. And no matter how big the checks can be, I will not compromise my personal ethics. And you saw how long I fought this. You knew I was struggling. I'm struggling with some of the people that are doing this. I'm struggling with the crap I'm hearing that people are buying. And so what did I do as an individual, as a citizen? I stopped. And I chose you over the check. There's not many people in that category who can even see that the PCAPs were a lie in court and admit it, we never have them, that they won't turn away from the check. And you know what? You should have noticed I stopped running the commercials long before I told you what I was struggling with. And see, here's the deal. We're going to go through more. I hope you stay with me because there's still so much to learn. But for me, that's what I choose. Period. The check, any money in life. I've been there, folks. When 9/11 happened in value, I lost $800 million in one day. I've been there. I know what money is. I know what money can do. I know what money can be used for, all of this stuff. So I understand it. But before all of that, it comes down to what are you as a human? And I only sit here to educate. I expect people to make the best decisions for themselves they can. So let me just ask a generic question. I have a choice now. Should we go and do you want to talk about the Civil War in Tennessee, or do you want me to continue showing you what the system did to us so you can learn? I'll let the class decide. We'll open it up, put it in chat. Would you like me to discuss the Civil War? Okay. And what happened back then? Or would you like me, because I'm willing to pivot, would you like me, now some of you are saying, what the hell? I respond to the audience. You know I read the audience. Would you like me to switch to the Civil War, as somebody's suggesting, or would you like me to continue showing you how this works? Because we're going to face it in 2026. We're going to face it next year. And this is probably the most important thing you can remember. What would you like me to do? I want you to tell me. I'm going to let you decide. Now, the overwhelming audience, in fact, 100% minus one, wants this to continue with the learning. Now, why do I even stop and call this out? I think I have a responsibility for hundreds of people in chat. I just want you to know, I feel I have a responsibility to you. Everybody watching on YouTube, everybody watching on Instagram, everybody watching on X, everybody watching on Rumble, everybody watching on Getter, everybody watching on DLive. The way I look at it is not only are you family, I have a responsibility to you. And I actually think what I can do is I can maybe help you understand this, right? Maybe help you understand this. Because see, once you understand it, you kind of learn what to do. And what I think is if you learn what to do and how this affects you and how you fund it, then what happens is your anger, your chaos, your frustration turns into knowledge and truth. And that's the weapon. That is the freaking best weapon. Now, let me give you an example of what I think about this. Okay. I'm going to give you an example. Okay. Because I this is how the system works. Now we're talking about, right? We're talking about, we got to fix this in 2020. So I'm going to give you a prime example. See, when you have idiots come into a program on Twitch, I could go over Twitch and I could get rid of Miss Critiquer L, but do you think this is about best streamers, streamboo.com, blah, 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 remove this space or that? Do you think it is? Well, see, that's an intrusion. And that's how the world operates. And when people want to get into the fucking Civil War, it's no different than this intrusion. But the world knows you can be misdirected. Let me give you an example. Do you know why people post, like on Telegram or other places, oh, they're putting mRNA in your food. Oh, get the best followers. Do you know why they do that? Let me give you the psychology of why they do that. See, chat disappears the moment the program disappears. So why do they bother even posting? Because fucking people click the links and chase rabbits or other topics. Do you fucking get it? See, they do it because it works. And in all this programming and all this we try to teach, the psychology always knows they can interrupt you. They can take you somewhere else. They can get you to do something against their will. Do those people, hey, get more followers? Do they run their own program on how to get more followers? No, they fucking jump in to where people already are. Also, individuals think they have that right. I use that as an example of the reason we have this. The reason we have this shit is because we let it happen. When you see that attorney ask the wrong question, spinning on one single word, yeah, I call that attorney a rat bastard, right? Right? But who funded it? See, the whole system operates off of your money and your lack of attention and focus. See, when you see those little intrusions, you should fucking be pissed off and saying, don't shit on my learning. The people that shit on your learning need to go register as liberals, need to go register as GOP or the DNC. All of it affects us as a nation. And the ironic part of it is it comes back to we the people. All of it comes back to we the people. Every bit of it. Now, I showed you that. I showed you for a reason. I need you to understand these words because court of law is the issue and why words and rules matter. See, I personally think our election trials got sabotaged. Now, I'm going to prove this to you. It's all about words. I want you to think back to where you were in 2022 versus now. I want you to listen to the words. Listen to the words. This is in Georgia. Listen to the words used.
And it's your understanding the Georgia Dominion equipment is not connected to the internet, right?
That's incorrect.
So you believe Dominion voting system components in Georgia are connected?
Some unrelated Dominion documentation.
Okay. I'm gonna let you listen to this again. I'm gonna let you listen to this again. This is an expert witness. Once again, funded again. same team, same funding. No offense to the witness. He is, when it comes to the machines, exceptionally smart, but that's not the point. Listen to the opening this. I'm gonna put it into another format. Hang on so I can stop it. Give me one moment. And if you'll stick with me, I'm telling you, you will absolutely become, beyond a doubt, the smartest person in the room. But more importantly, you'll understand how to push.
And it's your
back.
understanding the Georgia Dominion equipment is not connected to the internet, right?
That's incorrect.
Okay. So the attorney said, it's your opinion. This is Georgia now. It's your opinion that, and listen to the attorney words. Did he say Dominion voting machines? This is the opposing counsel. See, you were taught by the same pillow, Dominion voting machines. Does the own counsel, do the own attorneys make that kind of mistake? Listen again.
And it's your understanding the Georgia Dominion equipment is not connected to the internet, right?
That's incorrect.
Okay, so he said, in your opinion, right, it's not connected to the internet. Now, Clay said that's incorrect. He pushed back on it. I'm just setting it up. The opposing counsel asked, stated, it's your opinion, it's a setup. It's your opinion that the equipment is not connected to the internet. Continue listening.
So you believe Dominion voting system components in Georgia are connected?
Some unrelated.
Now, what he did is he used the opposite to bring it up. So you believe the Dominion equipment is not connected to the internet. What'd he say? Well, that's incorrect. And then he said, so you believe that the Dominion equipment is connected to the internet, right? One more time.
And it's your understanding the Georgia Dominion equipment is not connected to the internet, right?
That's incorrect.
So you believe Dominion voting system
Now, you understand he asked two questions. He first asked and stated, so you believe Dominion equipment is connected to the internet? Clay pushes back and says, that's not correct. And then what did the attorney ask?
And it's your understanding the Georgia Dominion equipment is not connected to the internet.
The Georgia Dominion equipment is not connected to the internet. Clay pushes back.
Right.
That's incorrect.
So he said, that's incorrect. Then he asked the question a second way, but it's a setup. It's a setup. Listen to how he asked it the second time.
So you believe Dominion voting system components in Georgia are connected?
Okay. So you believe Dominion voting systems are connected to the internet. I've always told you there's a distinct difference. They will always tell you. Now, I want you to listen to Clay, the expert witness, his response.
Related.
Are connected.
Some unrelated.
Now, you're the judge. The witness, you're in Georgia. You're in Georgia. The defense attorneys are getting to the heart of the matter. And the first thing out of your mouth it's from unrelated. So the question is, how do you bring up in court something that's unrelated? And if it's unrelated, is that evidence or is that argument? You're in a Georgia court. Basically, to prove that, in short terms, it was stolen. Right? These guys took it. Right out of the chute, he says, from unrelated, I'll play the rest of it. What has he done? Is it evidence or is it argument? Put it in chat. Right off the bat, is it evidence or is it argument? See, you're getting the point now. It's argument. It's argument. You're in court to present evidence. Now, if you take that standard, if in fact you were a jury trial, and you'll understand there is a material difference, this is your jury instructions, between evidence and argument. Let's look at the evidence. Here we go.
Dominion documentation. I can specific Dominion documentation.
Got to go back a little. Hang on. Dominion voting system components in Georgia are connected.
From unrelated Dominion documentation, I can specifically tell you that there is connection.
Which county in Georgia was there a connection to the internet of Dominion equipment?
Now, did you catch? See, you've got to understand this, folks. And that's why we're not talking about the fucking bar or getting followers. Do you think this attorney is stupid or smart? He asked a question about Dominion equipment. Then he phrased it Dominion voting systems. Now he's gone back to Dominion equipment. Because there is no such thing. There are Dominion voting systems, and the systems that actually run the elections are Dell or all these other things that are licensed. But it's not actually Dominion. Now, Clay, which refuses to come on my program, I actually think he's the only one out there that has something to offer, but he's bought into the Jovan's a jerk stuff. And this is why it's about words.
Voting system components in Georgia are connected.
From unrelated Dominion documentation, I can specifically tell you that there is connection.
In the Dominion handbook, it states, if for any reason you want to see anything that goes on, you, the county, connect this to your land. It states it in their fucking manual. I've shown you that. And the pillow people told you being connected to the internet was a crime. It never has been a crime. Ever. 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 But see, you were told by pillows, I'm not supposed to be connected to the internet. That's not true. They always have been.
That's incorrect.
So you believe Dominion voting system components in Georgia are connected?
From unrelated Dominion documentation, I can specifically tell you that there is connection.
Which county in Georgia was there a connection to the internet of Dominion equipment?
It would be Gwinnett, if I'm remembering correctly. There were several states involved.
And which time period are you referring to?
This was 2020.
Before or after the election?
During the election.
In your examination. Okay, so let me ask you a few questions. The trial is about Fulton County. Fulton has a name. It's Fulton. It's not Gwinnett, but it is Fulton. Now, I got to ask you a question so you understand the difference. Was Clay presenting evidence or was he presenting argument? See, Clay's arguing that the machines are connected to the internet, which is one of the things you got sold in the beginning. It's a crime to connect them to the internet. It never was. Who told you these things are not supposed to be connected to the internet? Who told you that? Who got on there and swore to you they had all the information in the world, every fucking county, and these things were connected to the internet and they swapped the votes? Who gave you that piece of information? Where did you get it? Where did you get that piece of information? But it's not law. It's not even fact. So what Clay was working to defend, and these attorneys will do it all day, they'll let you defend all kinds of shit that has no bearing because it just chews up the time. They want out of there. They're going to make their hourly rate and they're just fucking chewing up time. Now you got told that that can't be connected to the internet. That was a crime, but that's about all you know. So how did it ensnare you on a bold fashion?
Here's the thing. The Dunning-Kruger effect. It says that the less you know, the more you think you know, and the more certain you are of it. Certainty is not a measure of knowledge. In fact, confidence often peaks before competence. When you know very little, you don't yet know how much there is to know. So everything feels obvious. Everything that you think you understand is clear, but as understanding truly grows, certainty drops, nuance appears, questions multiply. But that's not weakness, that's learning. And precision in language forces a certain humility because
precision in language, and the reason there's this thing of precision in language is because the exact wording can change the legal meaning. It can swing an entire trial. And it's designed to flip the switch in court in a very sneaky way. I'm showing you this. Evidence versus argument. See, when you watch these trials back when they happened, if you watched them, you came in pissed off. You came in, I just want you to understand this. A former crackhead with the worst ADD in the world is where you got your knowledge of how elections are supposed to be run. I just want you to think of that for a minute. Somebody who's never done an audit, never been involved in an audit, has not been involved in elections, and we're going to do more, who has the worst ADD in the world, became your source of how it's supposed to work. Have you ever thought about that? Just a very simple question. Have you ever thought about that? Your quote unquote empirical source for all of this stuff. Have you ever thought about that? Everybody in the world's got an opinion, but see, courts don't work on opinion. Courts have to have evidence, not an argument. Mike even says, besides Coke, I did meth. What was I talking about? I just want you to think of that for a moment. See, this is why I say it was all a con. It was all a fucking con. From the very beginning, I now believe, my personal opinion, it was a fucking con. Because for me, there's too many parts that go back to the same source. That's why I think it's a con. If it was just one over here and one over here and one over here and they weren't connected, I'd go, fucking dumbass people just don't know what they're talking about. But when I look at it and I just plot it out, I go, fuck, all of these things are connected. Now, if you're sitting in a courtroom in Georgia and your expert witness who's testifying, who should be testifying that the ballot image changed because somebody remotely entered the printer and changed the setting. That's what you need a witness to do. I'm an expert witness. I looked at the Georgia machines. I discovered they use this piece of software to end the election at this timestamp. Somebody remotely in, here's the person that remotely in, and they changed the setting on the machine. Now, that would qualify as evidence. Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm an expert witness, let's say. I'm testifying in Georgia. It is my expert opinion. When I studied the physical printers, I discovered a piece of software. I discovered an open door, and in that open door, somebody from, Argentina, Caracas, used a piece of software. They came into this exact printer, which I researched. At this time, they changed the setting on the printer. They made the printer, which was looking for a 20-inch ballot, go to a 19-inch ballot. Now, why that's important is because at a 19-inch ballot, when the system automatically sees it changes, it can't read it any longer. It just says something's wrong. And so the voter felt like their vote went in. It didn't go in. They unreasonably assumed it was tallied, but what it did is it suspended it. Now, it just suspended it for a moment in time. It didn't cancel the votes per se, it just suspended it. But here's how it happened. That is called, at that format, expert evidence. Do you get it? Here's what happened, how and why. Here's how it relates to the election. Using that rule of thumb, listen to it.
And it's your understanding the Georgia Dominion equipment is not connected to the internet, right?
That's incorrect.
So you believe Dominion voting system components in Georgia are connected?
From unrelated Dominion documentation, I can specifically tell you that there is connection.
Which county in Georgia was there a connection to the internet of Dominion equipment?
It would be Gwinnett, if I'm remembering correctly. There were several states involved.
And which time period are you referring to?
This was 2020.
Before or after the election?
During the election.
So let me ask you a question. His expert testimony is actually the following. Somebody sent to me some emails that when I read them, leads me to believe that Dominion or somebody during the actual election went in and changed something. Now, is that evidence? He also says, well, it happened in this county and other states also. First off, where's this trial? What's this trial about? This is where we fail. And I just got to tell you, my personal opinion is this is sabotage. But you got to understand, that was just a fucking opinion, and he's making an argument. His argument should really be said, well, I heard it, and Gwinnett said it happened because I heard that from somebody in Gwinnett, and then I heard from somebody in California, and I read somebody online in Nevada, and I read this on here, and it's my opinion. If all those people are saying it, then it must have happened. See, the court has rules. And what you saw was what was presented as evidence actually is an argument, but it goes further. It's an argument based on hearsay, not in fact. because he didn't actually discover it happening. Now, see, my question for here is not about Clay. Clay got set up from the beginning. You see Clay's face. So you don't believe these things are connected to the internet. The attorney set him up with a negative lead. He knew what Clay believed. He set him up with a negative lead. And Clay bit it and became indignant. But it's still not evidence. More importantly, based on the rule of law and the rules of the election, it's all voluntary. So it doesn't even matter. Why? It's voluntary. Let me keep on. Ben Cotton's next. He's down there too. Ben Cotton's testifying in Georgia. Ben Cotton did work in Maricopa. Let's listen to Ben Cotton.
Examination of any of these Dominion systems. Have you seen any indication of non-election personnel remotely accessing a Dominion system?
Yes.
Can you tell us about that?
I too have reviewed a series of emails.
The question of the court was, have you seen non-election people access the systems? I'm paraphrasing. He said yes, but then how he said yes was, well, I saw some emails. That immediately took it from evidence to argument. And all of this is predicated upon you have to have hard evidence. Now, hard evidence would be, I have observed, if it was this machine, in this machine, that there were X thousand numbers of people that entered into the servers, and here is where they were, here's where they came from, here's what they did. And none of them are the names of the election officials or employees. That would be hard factual evidence. But the moment you scrape over to emails, because it's words, and Ben's super smart, he did well for himself. He's run a lot of government programs. He's done a lot of government investigations, and he's run a very good company, and he did the Arizona and these audits, and evidently he did so great. Somebody who's not disclosed, because I don't know who it is, bought his tech company from him after that. So he's got to have some expertise. But again, we're talking about evidence versus argument. And this is kind of a little bit of a twist here. It's subtle, but let's keep on listening. Let me get back to
these Dominion systems.
The election.
In your examination of any of these Dominion systems, have you seen any indication of non-election personnel remotely accessing a Dominion system?
Yes.
Can you tell us about that?
So in any of these systems, asked him, has he seen it? In any of these systems, he's investigated. In any of these systems, he's investigated. Now, systems have hardcore facts. A logical answer in my mind, in my opinion, would be on this system, I saw this. On this system, I saw this. On this system, I saw this. They weren't county employees. But I'm also puzzled of why the answer is always in all of these, I saw emails.
I too have reviewed a series of emails produced by Dominion in which they're discussing remoting into Gwinnett County, Georgia.
Okay. Is that a crime? I want to make sure you understand this. the very people that have the software that runs these systems, that have a contractual duty to make sure they work, that have a contractual duty to make sure the systems are a fucking go on election day, who have a contract to be available at the drop of a hat, anytime, by the way, remotely or otherwise. Is that company doing something that is literally against the law? In my world, it's called tech support. That's just my question. In my world, that's called tech support. And in fact, in the contracts, it says you are required to be available. That's all I'm saying. So if we're trying to show intent and that it changed the outcome of the election, right? I just got a question for you. Did that show it? Did that show it? Did that show that Dominion did something nefarious? You know, and I know, of course not. Now I'm going to show you the next question. Now pay attention, because context is everything. In September of 2020, in October, the world was told I heard an Antifa call that I infiltrated, and the Dominion executive responsible for security says, don't worry, we've made sure that Trump's not going to fucking win. Then that person did a media tour, right? Then all of the news networks, courtesy of Mike Lindell, they changed the votes on the air. They changed the votes. It was Dominion. So let me ask you a question. Where did we get that Dominion was the perpetrator? Where did we get, any of us in the world, where did we get that Dominion was the perpetrator? You got it from Team Lindell, Joe and Mike Lindell. Now, here we are in court a year later, and everybody's been told it was Dominion. And in law, when you're trying to give evidence, they will naturally guide you towards Dominion. But if the rules are voluntary, and all you have to say it is Dominion is somebody claiming they infiltrated an Antifa call with no proof of it. Somebody saying, well, they saw the numbers change on TV, which are not the votes, but they didn't bother to teach you that. They led you to believe it was the votes. They led you to believe they're not supposed to be connected to the internet. That's not even a law. So what sets up all of this moment of truth to fall flat on its fucking ass? You understand why I say truth was suffocated by a pillow? Because what the system gave us, as I always tell you, is they gave us the bad guy. And everybody focused on the bad guy with no evidence, out of ignorance. You got indignant. You can't be turned back. No way. and you got trapped. You got trapped. And that's why I say, in my opinion, this is why the election trials were pre-sabotaged before they ever got there. Because it would never stand up in a court.
You also mentioned Dominion remotely connecting to election systems, but you don't have any evidence that occurred in Georgia, correct?
You got to ask yourself, why does this attorney, which is the opposing counsel, goes between systems and then goes between Dominion machines? And it's because he knows what's up.
There was one county. I've seen a lot of Dominion emails. I've had to translate Dominion emails from Serbian to English to verify the technical question.
Okay. He just said it. I had to translate emails from Serbian or whatever to have to translate. Now, let me ask you a question. He was asked, have you seen this happen? But he goes back to talking about emails. Is there any rules that govern where any company in the software area gets their programming people or their tech support? Are there any rules that prohibit that? None. Listen to it in totality.
One county. I've seen
produced by Dominion, in which they're discussing remoting into Gwinnett County, Georgia.
You also mentioned Dominion remotely connecting to election systems, but you don't have any.
Now, I'm going to give you a very funny thing. As I continue just peeling back this layer, my thumbs down just go up. That is how entrenched this is. People, when shown the facts according to the rule of law, cannot get past what their feelings are. As long as the system can keep you in chaos, you operate in feelings.
Evidence that occurred in Georgia, correct?
There was one county. I've seen a lot of Dominion emails. I've had to translate Dominion emails from Serbian to English to verify the technical questions I was being asked about them, to verify that it was translated properly. So
it's your testimony that there is evidence of Dominion remotely accessing Georgia election equipment?
yes, on the one county. It was included with stuff that I was researching and reading through, considering Colorado.
Everything's mentioned except the fucking county court he's sitting in. Could you understand why a court might say, damn it, we're in this county, but you keep on talking about all these other places? We're in this county. Talk about what you learned about this county.
Michigan was also involved, and there were other ones.
To your understanding, is Dominion able to remotely connect to these election systems?
Yes.
Are they?
And it says so in their manuals and their contract agreements. They have to support their systems. The county is the one that says, yes, I want you to support me if we have questions. In the documents, the county's presented with, you should have people, you should have staff, you should have this. But if you think you're going to need support, if you think you're going to want to be able to look at this while you sit at home, you don't have to come to the office, you need to connect it to your LAN. If you want to do that, you can dialogue with us. Now, the question I ask is that illegal if, in fact, it's part of the agreement?
Are they able to do that without detection?
Yes.
And are you aware of any instances in which that has occurred?
So here's the question. Are they able to do it without detection?
Is Dominion able to remotely connect to these election systems?
Yes.
Are they able to do that without detection?
Yes.
I just have an obvious question here. Let me just play it back to you. Is Dominion able to remotely enter the software of the election systems? Yes. Are they able to do it undetected? Yes. How do you know? It's a simple question. How do you know? Not where do you go to get the information? I know it's the log file. I asked the expert witness, how do you know if it's fucking unfucking detectable? How'd you detect it? That's why I always tell you all of this spins on words. All of it spins on words. You can't make one empirical statement that they're able to remotely come in, because that means you can confirm they can remotely come in. You have seen they remotely come in. And then in the same breath say, well, it's undetectable. Which is true? Which is true? What can be said is, yes, they can remote in. And then he could say, and anybody with remote access is detectable if we have the Splunk logs, if we have the routers. But if you don't get the routers and you don't get the Splunk logs and you don't get cooperation, that lack of cooperation makes it virtually undetectable. And I use the word virtually. Do you see the difference wording makes in a court of law? If it's undetectable and it's made to be undetectable, how the fuck did you detect it? Because those two statements together do not stand side by side. So which one did you lie about? Did you lie about they can remote in? No, because they got in. Okay, you know they got in. Yes, I did. How'd you detect it if you said it was undetectable? That's the difference. It's so subtle. But it's what politicians do, and I'm not saying he's a politician. I'm using an example as politicians. They'll say something, they'll take it away. They'll say something, they'll take it away. They'll say something, they'll take it away. And a lot of this, we do it to ourselves. But then I have to question, if this became the go-to-it team, and this go-to-it team did it everywhere, are we seeing a pattern? That's all I'm asking. Because I fully believe, in my opinion, that the election trials were pre-sabotaged. Let's just keep listening.
And are you aware of any instances in which that has occurred?
Yes.
Okay. So you know Dominion can do it. You say it's undetectable, but I ask you, are you aware? Yes, I am. Well, that means you detected it. You said it's undetectable. You said they can do it. Then you said it's undetectable, and I'm relying on you as an expert. And then I'm saying, did you see it? Yes. Well, you just said it was undetectable. Which is it?
Can you identify those instances?
One would be the Denver, Colorado server.
Just let me remind you, we're in Georgia.
Was granted, or requested to grant Belgrade, only Belgrade. I did search. There is a Belgrade, Montana. Again, why would Montana need to connect into a Colorado file transfer server as part of the election system? And there are other components and things that were done in the background concerning the database and the configure of the.
So we now jumped from Georgia, where you got to prove a case, to Colorado, where all this started. But you're there to prove a case in Georgia. Let me just ask you a question. Are you beginning to understand why evidence is not allowed in the court trying it exactly there for the court? Well, doesn't each state have its own elections? Just a question. Doesn't each state have its own elections? And what's this trial about? Georgia. So do any of those other states have jurisdiction in Georgia? And people just said, I'm old enough to remember where we were told machines don't have internet access. Okay, common sense. Who told you that? Common sense, I would appreciate if you'd answer. You said, I'm old enough. Let me put it on the screen for everybody to see. Okay. Let me put it on the screen because this is kind of a little bit of the heart of what I'm talking about, and I'm going much longer than I expected. I got a lot to do, so we're just going to plow through it. Okay. Common Sense has posted, I'm old enough to remember when we were told that machines don't have access to the internet. Now, Common Sense, I'd appreciate if you'd answer this for me. Please, 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 please. Who told you that? Okay, so I got an answer. Hang on, let me get it. He says, the press and Common Sense. I'm assuming it's a he. So let me ask you a question. What press and what Democrats? Now, I'm going to assume you came in late, which is fine. Which is fine. Because I think what you're really saying is, hang on, let me get to the bottom here. And this is my whole point in all of this. You heard somewhere from TV, so it must be true. And you probably heard that from Mike Lindell's team. And since you mentioned it earlier, there is not a single law on the books that says these machines cannot have any access to the internet. See, you're misappropriating terms. They say they're air-gapped, so they can't be reached. Air gap has a definition. It means in that environment, in that particular environment, from the outside, you can't come in. But you take that air gap machine, and if that air gap machine, right, okay, and the county decides they want to see it, the moment the county hooks it up, because the county hooks it up to their own equipment, it's the county machines that are connected to the internet. So was it technically that machine? No, that machine just got connected to the county, which they can do. But was that machine connected to the internet? No. Is that against the law? No. But see, here's the deal. You've been told this by the corporate machine, and you assumed it was a law. And it never has been a law. That's my whole point in trying to share words matter. Let's keep on. Let me go back a bit.
Would be the Denver, Colorado.
to your understanding, is Dominion able to remotely connect to these election systems?
Yes.
Are they able to do that without detection?
Yes.
And are you aware of any instances in which that has occurred?
Yes.
Can you identify those instances?
One would be the Denver, Colorado server was requested to grant Belgrade, only Belgrade. I did search. There is a Belgrade, Montana. Again, why would Montana need to connect into a Colorado file transfer server as part of the election system? And there are other components and things that were done in the background concerning the database and the configure of the database server that still do not have an engineering change order. Because as somebody who works in an operational environments for a lot of different things, what I will tell you is sometimes things break or you have a problem and you have to fix it. And you submit a change request, or in this case,
you should submit a change request. If it's election night and it's hectic and you don't get around to the change request, is it a crime or a boo-boo? If you don't fill out the request, is it a crime or you just forgot about it? That's the only thing I'm saying.
engineering change order that's retroactive, right? You want to go back and make sure that you record the process so that you have change management and integrity of the system. If you do not record changes, you lead yourself down a very bad road.
So here's my question for you. You just heard testimony in Georgia about a specific county. Did any of those facts relate to that specific county? Yes or no? Put it in chat. You heard all this testimony. You heard a lot of testimony. Did any one of those people speaking give you any testimony about that exact county and what you were shown there? Not a one. But everybody got pissed off because this happened. You were told it was happened. You were led to believe it was a crime. It was promoted, 24/7, 365. But it never was a crime. Now, is any of that evidence or was it an argument? Is it evidence or was it an argument? The court requires evidence. The court demands that the wording be exact. And the change of wording can basically prove the whole case. In fact, the trial can swing on a single word because court is not storytelling, it's rule-based. That's my only point. That is my only point in that case. Let me show you another one before I show you some longer ones. You ready? Pay attention. We're going back to Maricopa.
Your voice, your vote. A judge hearing arguments from Kari Lake's legal team as they try to reverse election results. Our Ashley Holden listening in on day one of the two-day trial.
This is Kari Lake versus Katie Hobbs et al.
Kari Lake's legal team seeks to prove there were violations of ballot chain custody and printer interference in Maricopa County.
There are early ballots that are dropped off on election day. We maintain chain of custody for those ballots.
The day started with county elections officials, the first witness, County Recorder Stephen Richer, joining remotely from his vacation.
Anybody know when those ballots leave the polling centers, the voting centers, how many are in the bins?
When the early ballots leave the voting centers, no, they are not counted at the.
Okay. Now I want you to pay attention to the words, because I taught you this, but I want to see if you catch it now. What Richard's being questioned about is outside the vote centers on election day. Outside the vote centers on election day. Okay. There are also drop boxes where you can drop your early vote. Now, at the beginning of a testimony, Stephen Richer says, we don't pick up ballots. And people are saying, we saw you pick them up. And that's where you learned, well, no, what we pick up is ballot packets. We don't pick up ballots. Now, why is that a distinction? Because on election day, at election physical locations, you do in fact pick up ballots. Because you walked in, you were handed a ballot, not a ballot packet. You can't vote your ballot packet inside the doors. You were handed a ballot, which basically is you attesting to, I don't want to use my ballot packet. I want to use a physical ballot. Print me a ballot. And you do. And that ballot goes in. No, that's a ballot. Not a ballot packet. Well, when they wade through all that stuff, Shaggy, Blemish, is querying the county recorder who runs the elections about people voting on election day at the vote center. Listen to how the county recorder answers the question truthfully. I got to make sure I got the right one. Here it is.
Your voice, your vote. A judge hearing arguments from Kari Lake's legal team as they try to reverse election results. Our Ashley Holden listening in on day one of the two-day trial.
This is Kari Lake versus Katie Hobbs et al.
Kari Lake's legal team seeks to prove there were violations of ballot chain custody and printer interference in Maricopa County.
There are early ballots that are dropped off on election day. We maintain chain of custody for those ballots.
The day started with county elections officials, the first witness, County Recorder Stephen Richer, joining remotely from his vacation.
Anybody know when those ballots leave the polling centers, the voting centers, how many are in the bins?
When the ballots leave, the early ballots leave the voting centers, no, they are not counted at the voting centers.
Lake's legal team calling several more witnesses. One, a cyber expert who was able to examine a small amount of ballots Tuesday. He says there were issues that couldn't be accidental.
Out of all the spoiled ballots and the duplicated original ballots, there were a total of 113 ballots examined. 48 of those existed because there was a 19-inch image of a ballot printed on 20-inch paper.
We did reach out to the county about this claim, but didn't hear back. The county's attorney in court saying those ballots still would have been tabulated, with each witness, attorneys representing Governor-elect Katie Hobbs and Maricopa County firing back.
I'm asking what evidence? You have no evidence that anybody made an intentional decision to do anything here, correct?
Well, I think that
Your Honor, I think this is a yes or no question.
you similarly do not have any personal knowledge of whether the printing errors were the result of an intentional scheme to undermine the election?
I was just a temporary employee.
There were some tense moments throughout the day and debate over witnesses and evidence being presented. Attorneys for Hobbs and the county will make their case Thursday, the final day of the trial. In Mesa, Ashley Holden, ABC 15, Arizona.
Now here's the question. Shaggy, at the behest of Scooby-Doo, was saying, when you go to the poll center, you're telling me you don't count the ballots? The county recorder answered, you can drop off your early vote at the polling centers, but no, we don't count the ballots there, we just take them down. Do you understand what was asked what Blim, the Karate Kid, otherwise known as Shaggy, who in my opinion is a total fucking idiot, the attorney doesn't even understand the language. Richter spoke the truth. There are early ballot drop-offs. We pick them up. We do not count the ballot. We take them down to vote center. Do you know why? Because the ballot counting, which has a different definition, is in that case, because it's an early vote done at MTech. And frankly, all they're doing is picking up the early votes, which are two different things, versus the day of the election inside the door. The question is, do you understand why words matter? And in all of these cases, even Clay sitting there, you can't make the printer change from 20-inch format to a 19-inch format. It doesn't happen accidentally. It took someone to do it. So the attorneys said, can you prove that somebody did this with an intent to change the outcome of the election? Could you? Could you prove in a court of law as evidence, right, as evidence, that somebody made that ballot change size intentionally to change the outcome of the election? It's not provable in that manner. You can't. It is beyond the ability to prove. That's why it takes everything. But you hear he only got, what, a triple handful of ballots, and he looked at this, and then he makes this proclamation. Do you understand why they limit your access to everything and only give you a few? Because you can't prove it was widespread and overall. That's the rig. That's why they did this. And thank every one of you for reposting this. But here's the deal. If you don't know this, you can't defend against it. And this is how the game's played. And it's why I've always told you, court of law, why words and rules matter. Blim, who's an idiot, is talking one thing. The guy on the other side is using his words correctly said it's early votes. We don't count them there. That's why words matter. That's why words matter. Here's I got 1, 2, 3 more pieces you need to watch. I'm just going to keep on doing it. You stay with me. That's why I told you it's going to piss you off. That's why I told you it's going to piss you off. That's why I told you so much of this to me looks coordinated and obvious, and that's why I'm showing you different states.
A cybersecurity expert for Kari Lake became angry on Wednesday when he was forced to admit that ballots printed at the wrong size would eventually be counted. During the first day of Lake's election trial, Maricopa County Attorney Tom Liddy tried to clarify witness Clay Parik's concerns about several dozen ballots that he claimed were printed at the wrong size. Parik said the ballot image was 19 inches while the ballot paper was 20 inches. Parik initially agreed that the ballots would be counted after initially being rejected and then duplicated. But when Liddy repeated the question, the witness became angry. "Your technical description is not possible," Parik said. "I'm sorry," Liddy remarked. I wasn't attempting to give a technical description. I was just saying what happens, based on your testimony. So you're saying, in that scenario, that voter who wanted to vote for Kari Lake would never have that vote tabulated? Is that your testimony? But Parikh insisted on discussing whether a shrink could fit setting could be accidentally configured on a printer. That's not a response, Liddy complained to Judge Peter Thompson. I'm unable to answer your question, Parikh reluctantly said. Let me ask a different question, Liddy remarked. Are duplicated ballots tabulated in the Maricopa County General Election 2022? If they're duplicated correctly and they're configured correctly, yes, they should be, Parikh confirmed. Thank you, Liddy concluded. No further questions. Parikh has previously appeared at election.
Okay. This one's a multi-layered one. Okay. This one is a multi-layered one, and I need you to refrain from opinions, refrain from trying to get people other places, and just listen to what I'm saying. Overall, the big question, we're just going to call it 40,000 ballots. The state was lost by 10,000 some odd, but 40,000 ballots is what's at issue in Maricopa County. So it's yes or no. Answer the question honestly. Please put it in chat. If supposedly they certified an election that was won by 40,000 votes, and we're going to let you look at 130 ballots. If the election was won in the county by 40,000 votes, but we're going to let you look at 130 votes, can you prove that it was done enough times to materially change the outcome of the election? Yes or no? Can you prove that it was done enough to materially change the outcome of the election? Yes or no? No, you cannot. Now, why can't you? Because the threshold by law is in excess of 40,000. You were only given, we'll call it 130,000. Now, if you listened even closer, the ballots he was allowed to look at were only the duplicated and the spoiled ballots. Spoiled means my dog pissed on it. You had to give me a new one. My cat chewed it up. I need a new one. Now, if you only look at spoileds and you only look at duplicated, which is far below the number of the win of the election, can you ever find enough to prove it will materially change the outcome of the election? Yes or no? If you're only looking at spoileds and duplicated, the two things where somebody else does it, right? Can you show enough to materially change the outcome of the election? The answer is no, not ever. Now, how does the system convince you nobody really stole the election? Because what they will let you see is obviously ballots other people touched. See, because when it was duplicated, somebody had to touch it. When it was spoiled and needed a new one, somebody had to touch and make it happen. So what they're really doing is playing a psychological game. Okay? The psychological game they're playing is, look, we even showed you all these people were involved and you still found nothing. And then it hinges on a singular word or a singular premise. See, Clay offered the opinion that that doing that negated your ability to cast a vote, therefore infringed your rights. That is what Clay said. Well, if they change the size or whatever, right? That they're saying they weren't tabulated. Well, let me let you in on a secret. You only have the right to cast a vote. Casting literally means you have the right to take what is ostensibly a ballot and drop it into a box or watch them scan it in. That's the only right you have. There doesn't exist a right that your vote must be counted as you cast it. That's the first part of the bullshit of the system. The second part is the reason they give you so few is so you can't reach a determinate answer of what really happened to be able to show it was intent, because all of these things happen in unison. And when you look at all of them, it was enough to materially change the outcome of the election. That's why they do that. See, count and cast are two different things. Then the way they catch you is they say, well, you kind of said this, impeded your, you cast your vote and impeded your votes. Let's don't talk about any of common sense. We don't need the facts. Let's stay on it. I know you came late. Stop it. It's my program. I don't need you to sell other facts. Just stop. Just pay attention, because I need people to understand. And so what happens here is counting is not done when it's cast. They have separated the counting system from the cast system. When you drop the ballot in a box, you have cast a vote. When you hand it to somebody to scan, you have cast the vote, but it hasn't counted yet. See, the counting, this is why they use tally centers. The counting is separate. It's okay, common sense, we're cool. The counting's separate. And so when you infer that, well, they misprinted it and therefore it kind of invalidated your ballot, and, no, because all they have to say is, here's the ballot. Yes, it was spoiled. Yes, it was duplicated, but we tallied it. We counted the son of a bitch. And so, see, the expert gets caught in having to acknowledge, well, yeah, you did in fact tally it, which completely destroyed his own testimony. Because you basically made the statement, your vote wasn't counted. And that's not true. We tallied it. We have a vote for this. We show where a ballot goes through. So do you understand all the nuances of how this works and why I refused and told them, fuck you, when they were going to just do a few? And I said, you told the American public we're looking at every one, and damn it, we're going to look at every one. Because see, it's only with every one can you, one, see it was enough to material change the outcome of the election. And in fact, it proves both intent and racketeering. But if you play within those certain rules as they're set up, there is no enforcement. You can't enforce anything. And when you go into other places and they give you the sticker and said you voted, or they give you your little fucking digital spreadsheet, that just means you cast a vote. This is how it works. And this is why I'm telling you, the system does this. And that's why the laws, the words, and the rules matter. And that's why in court, if you don't understand all this stuff, you can't present evidence, because all they ask you is, can you prove they did it with intent and it was enough to materially change the outcome of the election? And all you can say is, well, no, because you didn't look at everything. It's an impossibility. It's a threshold you can't get over in the beginning. You can't get over it. It's impossible. Little longer clip. I am not going to interfere with this. This is a debate. Now, Scooby-Doo, Shaggy, I don't want to blame it on the dog because the dog's innocent. Shaggy, otherwise known as Blemish, who's going to defend Kari Lake. I want you to listen to somebody he wants to bring into court. Now, what he has to prove Here's what he has to prove. He has to prove that the election was stolen by intent and it was enough to overcome or to change the outcome. It has to show it was done by intent and has to show it was done enough. Let me make sure I got the right one. Enough to change the outcome of the election. Listen to this dialogue with a judge about a witness he wants to put on the stand.
I have a couple of minutes of explanation of what the relevance, what these witnesses would be expected to say and what their relevance is.
Your Honor, there was a lot of testimony about MAGA pro-Trump violence at the legislature, including, Your Honor, testimony about guns sliding across the courtyard and protesters yelling at children. And so Senator Kern, Your Honor, as you well know, is the chairman of the Judiciary Committee. He spends a great deal of time at the Arizona State Legislature and can testify as to what takes place at the legislature with respect to protests, both on, I suppose we could say, Your Honor, the left and the right. Furthermore, Your Honor, one of their witnesses, Ms. Rodriguez, invoked Senator Kern's name at yesterday's hearing, Your Honor, when she testified that he held her before his committee and would not allow her to leave until she answered a specific question.
Now I'm going to ask you just a question for a moment. We are at Kari Lake's trial. We are at Kari Lake's trial, where she must prove with intent they stole the election from me. And here's how many votes they stole. And it's more than makes a material difference in the outcome of the election. Now, who is this guy, Blemish, asking to testify? What is he asking him to testify about? And we're talking about an election. Tell me in chat what he's asking the judge to consider as a witness for evidence. Now, what I'll tell you, there isn't any, but what this is stoking the chaos. It's stoking the fire. It's going to keep you pissed because you know all this bullshit happened. There is not anything, not a fucking thing, this senator being called in as a witness can add to, was this election stolen with intent, and was it enough to materially change the outcome of the election? Listen again.
Of what the relevance, what these witnesses would be expected to say and what their relevance is.
Your Honor, there was a lot of testimony about MAGA pro-Trump violence at the legislature, including, Your Honor, testimony about guns sliding across the courtyard and protesters yelling at children. And so Senator Kern, Your Honor, as you well know, is the chairman of the Judiciary Committee. He spends a great deal of time at the Arizona State Legislature and can testify as to what takes place at the legislature with respect to.
Okay, Mr. Blim, let me short case this. How many people went to the state legislature to cast their vote for Kari Lake? Oh, that's right. Not a fucking one. So what does it matter?
Protests, both on, I suppose we could say, Your Honor, the left and the right. Furthermore, Your Honor, one of their witnesses, Ms. Rodriguez, invoked Senator Kern's name at yesterday's hearing, Your Honor, when she testified that he held her before his committee and would not allow her to leave until she.
Okay, so now I understand what you're saying, Mr. Blim. In Kari Lake election, this senator realized that this lady was possibly going to vote for Kari Lake. He kidnapped her so she couldn't vote a vote. Is that correct? That's why you're telling me this story. Get it yet?
She gave until she answered a specific question. And so.
Oh, yes. Oh, well, it was a specific question, Your Honor. Oh, are you going to vote for Carrie Lake? She said yes. And he kidnapped her?
With respect to what's taking place at the legislature and the violence, Senator Kern's going to offer testimony in that.
Oh, wait. Because protesters protested, which is their free speech right, you're saying because people protested, it proves their intent was to deceive Carrie, and they protested so much, it caused the outcome of this election.
Regard, Your Honor, with respect to how he runs his committee and whether or not he holds witnesses until they answer questions, he's expected to testify about that as well, Your Honor.
There was testimony about the VM34 at the hearing on Thursday. The recorder testified about it.
This is a document that basically talks about everybody voting and information. That's the document. That's just a shortcut name for it.
Not super familiar with that particular file. It's something that the Elections Department uses. It makes it available to the political parties. It also makes it available to anybody in the world, as Mr. Blem said, who makes a public records request and pays the applicable fee set by statute. That isn't a fee that the recorder willy-nilly assesses.
And I want to let everybody know, I'm not shilling for the Bar Association. This topic is not about the Bar Association. I want you to pay attention to what these guys say. And if you miss it because you're looking at something else that sounds interesting, you're missing the point of what they exactly say. I want you to focus on exactly say, no matter how much people want to get you off completely separate than what these rat bastards say. Focus on what these rat bastards say.
Mr. Blem didn't suggest that it was, but I just want the court to know that fee is set by ARS 16168. I believe it's subpart E, but it's in 16168.
Quick snap poll. Is this program about the video I'm playing, or is this program about the chat that's being chattered? Is this program about the videos I'm playing in the lesson I'm teaching, or the notes that are getting passed around by the class?
68. In any event, the VM34 file contains certain information: the voter's name, the voter's political party, the voter's address. It does not contain the voter's signature. And the voter's signature is what we're here about, Your Honor, the signature on the affidavit, the early ballot affidavit envelopes. That's not part of the VM34. And unless Ms. Bush is going to come to the witness stand and say that it is, you know, and then I suppose we'll have to get a copy of the VM34 down here for the court to examine. But I'm representing to the court, it's not part of the VM34, and it has no relevance to this proceeding. With regard to what is given to Runbeck, Runbeck does perform important services for the county. Mr. Blem and his client, Ms. Lake, and also his other client, We the People, are currently litigating two separate, I'm sorry, that's incorrect, Your Honor. It's We the People, it's not Ms. Lake, is litigating an action against Runbeck right now. But what Runbeck does has nothing to do with this proceeding in front of Your Honor today. Again, this is about the early ballot affidavit signatures. I didn't hear anything that Ms. Bush is expected to testify about that I personally consider to be relevant. However, if Your Honor would like to allow her to testify, and we can go, you know, line of questioning by line of questioning and make objections that way, that's fine with me. As for Senator Anthony Kern, if he takes time out of his busy schedule to be here today, we certainly appreciate that. We did put into evidence testimony about what took place at one of his hearings. If he wants to appear to from his perspective, clarify or even from his perspective, refute the testimony that our witness offered, Your Honor, I think that is acceptable. I don't think it's really relevant to the issue at hand, but we will not object to that. If he feels the need to set the record straight from his perspective as to what happens at committee hearings that he chairs, we have, great respect for the members of our legislature, and we.
So my question here is, you hear it, they're going to allow it. They'll certainly allow it. You know why? Because it'll eat the fuck up of time. But what relevance does what happened in a committee hearing or the State House have to do with adjudicating, did they intentionally steal this from Kari Lake, and was it enough to make a material difference of the outcome? That's what I'm saying. This is what I'm calling bullshit on. This is how it all gets mucked together and by the way, they didn't get to present everything because why? They fucking ran out of time allotted by the court. It's always about that time clock. So why do that? That's why I say a lot of this to me blatantly smacks, in my opinion, of sabotage. Why else would you fucking burn up the clock?
We would not want to stand in the way of that if that's what he feels he needs to do. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay.
And I'm playing this so you can hear what chews up the time. And you can hear the things that are being discussed. You're about to hear about Shelby Bush, who the GOP forbid to talk to my team or getting any help from us.
First, as to Senator Kern, I do have respect for the members of the legislature and what they do. And if he is here today, then he presumably feels strongly about what was said about what happened in his committee. And
which is the only thing he can comment on, what happened in his committee. But this is about what happened during the election.
I can identify that with that. If somebody said something about what happened in my courtroom and I thought it didn't portray me fairly, I want to respond too. But frankly, what happened in his committee really has nothing to do with what we're deciding today. And Mr. LaBruce said that. That testimony was given. I heard it, but I was not intending to rely on it in any way, because what happened, and I'll just say it, I don't know how to say it any more directly. What happened between a legislator and a lobbyist in a committee hearing truly has nothing to do with whether the ballot affidavit envelopes are public records or not. And what happens in the community is one thing. What happens in the legislature is something else entirely. So, so I don't think, and it's up to me at the end of the day, whether to hear testimony, particular testimony, especially at a bench trial. So I just do not find that that's relevant. The other, and I think it would be frankly a waste of his time to give that testimony. He would be better off going back to the legislature, and if he wants to make a public statement about how he runs his committee, that's perfectly fine with me.
Now, I ran that so you can see how much time's chewed up in this shit. So you can actually see how much time gets chewed up in this crap. All of that worked against Kari Lake. Secondly, now I'm going to show you the county's expert, we the people. Now I want to put in a time frame. This is Kari Lake's trial, which is the 2022 election. And the attorneys made millions, by the way. But if we go over here to that time in American history, right? Nobody has ever in the history of the United States of America looked at every single procedure and every single ballot voted in a specific election except my team and myself. That was an already established precedent. Sanctioned by the Senate, contracted to the process on behalf of the Senate, physically investigated, the single largest investigation of ballots in American history. Physical. I want to remind you, in Arizona, when it came to Kari Lake, we knew we could help because of what we saw. And Shelby Bush, who refused to work with us, she was told by the GOP she could not operate with us. By the same guy, Randy Pullen, we had problems with in the 2020 election. So here's the judge considering the star witness for Kari Lake. Here is the star witness that all of this hung on.
The motion in limine is granted as to Hansel.
As to Ms. Bush, no, I do not believe so. Our understanding of her her proffered testimony would be similar. It'd be a similar line of reasoning as to Mr. Spakeen and Mr. Hansel.
Okay, the one on this one, I'm inclined to go a step further because she's a medical office manager. I mean, she's so obviously unqualified that I kind of find the need to make a finding about that, as well as that her testimony is irrelevant. I mean, she's not even in the ballpark.
Your Honor, my witness, Shelby Bush, Your Honor, she's got significant regulatory and auditing experience. She's not just some back office worker in some medical office, Your Honor. She's been engaged in politics and in and around Arizona elections and signature verification for a very long time. She's got a lot of work under her belt as someone who does investigations into elections and what's taking place.
With the ninjas?
Excuse me?
With the ninjas?
Yes, she did participate in that audit, Your Honor.
Okay. The motion is granted as to Shelby Bush as well, both on relevance grounds and on Rule 702 grounds.
So the key witness is disqualified right from the difference. Even if the judge would allow it, said for the ninjas, all that can be said is she worked at some of the tables. See, there is a difference. There's a difference. Even if you take away, okay, even if you take away, she's an office manager. And even if the judge want to say, well, she worked for the cyber ninjas, let's look at like our team. My actual patents are used as part of the ballot printing and tracking process, which means I have a precedent of decades and 207 ballots in a suite that is the actual implementation of how the ballots are tracked through the system. aside from, for 35 years, being a professional witness and professional IP prosecutor getting patents granted in 190 countries. My entire work in patents is not only innovating them, it is defending them against not only the United States government to force them to allow it because it's unique and they don't want to allow it, you have to fight for it, but also to basically make them stand legally in 190 countries. Now, just so you know, where Mr. Clay or whatever, you know, the little ballot change of size occurred in the 2020 election as well. You know that, right? There are many things that happened with the 2020 election we've never talked about, because that's why we are still in audit mode. The whole system is designed from failure from the beginning. GOP and whatever steer these things. It is all a steered process. Here's my last bit.
In his ruling, Maricopa County Judge Peter Thompson notes throughout the history of Arizona, the bar to overturn an election on the grounds of misconduct in this state has always been a high one. He writes the court cannot accept speculation or conjecture, and that the plaintiff, Republican Carrie Lake, failed to provide enough evidence on either count by clear and convincing evidence.
What does it require? But we're going to have a senator say people were mean in the Senate. What does it require? Well, they protested outside. What does it require?
In his ruling, Maricopa County Judge Peter Thompson notes throughout the history of Arizona, the bar to overturn an election on the grounds of misconduct in this state has always been a high one. He writes the court cannot accept speculation or conjecture, and that the plaintiff, Republican Carrie Lake, failed to provide enough evidence on either count by clear and convincing evidence. Marcus Dellartino, a political consultant, tells me it's not surprising.
There's an exceptionally high bar for her to obtain to actually win this case, and they never got there. They never proved their case, one, with malicious intent, and two, that it certainly would have changed the results of the election.
While Judge Thompson acknowledged real problems did affect the election, he wrote election workers did their best, performing their jobs with integrity. Lake's team had to prove a county employee interfered with the printers in a way that caused her to lose votes and or that ballots were added to the county's total unlawfully.
And frankly, what the result that they were asking for is historically never happened in the United States. A judge has never ordered a whole new election in the history of the country.
In an earlier proceeding, Judge Thompson dismissed 8 other counts filed by Lake's team. In response to this ruling, Lake tweeted, "My election case provided the world with evidence that proves our elections are run outside of the law. This judge did not rule in our favor. However, for the sake of restoring faith and honesty in our elections, I will appeal his ruling." Hobbs' campaign also responding, writing, "Governor-elect Hobbs is ready to get to work improving Arizonans' everyday lives and moving our state forward." We've also heard from Maricopa County Board of Supervisors Chairman Bill Gates, who blasted Lake, saying, "A win for Arizona voters and American democracy. Plaintiff Lake's lawsuit was never about well-pled facts and evidence. Instead, it was the continuation of a made-for-TV tirade from a candidate who cannot or will not accept the fact that she lost." The judge gave both sides until Monday for Lake's attorney to appeal and for Hobbs' side to seek sanctions. Lake's appeal needs to happen before Hobbs is sworn in on January 2nd, meaning the case could go to Arizona's Supreme Court.
Now, Amy, if the judge does issue sanctions in this case, what could that mean for other election disputes in the future?
Yeah, and that's a good question. That political consultant tells me it could discourage more of these lawsuits from moving forward. It could mean the attorneys representing these elected or these officials could face penalties or even the possibility of being disbarred. Jason?
All right. Thank you. Amy Cutler reporting live in the newsroom.
And just so you know, the totality of all spoiled ballots, if they were spoiled and replaced, if every one of them were voted for Donald Trump, is not enough to materially change the outcome of the election. If every legal duplicated ballot recorded, same thing. Now, the issue here is you have to understand that millions and millions of dollars were spent on these cases. Millions. Mike Lindell spent millions. Other people spent millions on these cases. But the only thing that was written hard into it, condition of the millions, as it's told to me, don't know if it's true or not, but I do know that Shelby Bush said, we are told we cannot work with you and your team or share any information with you. Now you have to ask yourself why. The answer to that's pretty easy, is we are the only people, team, individual, otherwise, that has personally looked at over 2 million ballots, 189 million voted ovals, that can understand every move, every process, every step, in every possible way a ballot can become in or handled, and how they all work together in unison to change the outcome of an election, done with intent. That's the whole racket, folks. That's the whole racket. I ask this question because I sit here and I just have to understand so much of this is a shit show. And I think a lot of this was shown intentionally. And when you look at people being put up as witnesses, that, yeah, they can testify as an expert about polling, but they can't testify that Kerry's trial was taken with intent or would change the outcome of the election. And if anything you've learned, all of this hinges, as I've always told you, all of this hinges upon singular words. And when you look at fractions in anything, you cannot prove the two things you have to prove. It was done intentionally, and it materially changed the outcome of the election. Yeah, you do have to tell a story in court, but it's got to be within the rules. And those rules have to be met by law. And if you do it wrong, what you've told America is evidence. And I've shown you that today. What you've told America is evidence is actually not evidence. It is an argument. And there is a difference. There is a difference between what is admissible and what has to be excluded for certain reasons. There is difference between credibility and impeached. Impeach is not like impeaching the president. It just basically means you're not qualified. Like Shelby Bush, you're a medical office clerk, manager, maybe. But you're going to be the star witness of how the system did this with intent, and so much that it would materially change the outcome of the election. They're going to tell you, well, they didn't let us do everything. It's because you actually focused on things legally that were designed to fail from the very beginning. So in most of these cases, I'm not putting it on the people. You're doing what you think you have to testify about. But if we do the word analysis, when you think you're testifying about Fulton fucking County, and you mentioned Colorado, Venezuela, and all this other stuff, you've instantly disqualified your testimony because you're there to do an exact purpose. And if you've never been coached on the exact purpose and the words of the rule or law of the jurisdiction you're sitting in, that's the failure of your legal team. And then you see in this that the legal team will burn all kinds of shit up. They don't care. They're getting paid by the hours. The attorneys walked away with millions. God bless every one of you that support our work. It all goes to election integrity. God bless you guys for doing that. But the bottom line is we have got to start playing to win. I catch flack all the time. Somebody will, well, you just think your way's the only way, and other people have other ways too. No, I'm only talking about what the court requires. Why do you think I don't talk about the machines? Because I know at the end of the day, if I focus on the machines, 100% of the rules are voluntary. It will never stop. It will never get a conviction. It will never end what the fuck's going on. So I focus on what it takes to get these things fixed. You got all this pushback that Jovan's going to blow up the Arizona audit. You know this story. Behind closed doors, when they agreed to the audits, they told you, the people, we will look at every single ballot. They agreed. You demanded it and they agreed. I was the only person in the audit chosen to do it on behalf of the American people. Everybody else was hand selected. Shiva wanted to do it. He was disqualified, but Randy Pullen chose him. Randy Pullen took the count books. Randy Pullen's the one that told Shelby, you can't share any of this with Jovan. Randy Pullen was the one behind the scenes saying, because he knew I was going to do it, we'll just look at a few of them, and then if he finds something, we'll look at the rest. And you know what I said? Fuck you. You told the public we would look at every single ballot. You must hold to that word, or I won't look at any, because it cannot be found. They were all excited. They thought they'd got rid of me. And then I said at the end of that conversation, but by the way, I'm going to tell the people what you just tried to do. They didn't care. I told you. And 60,000 phone calls flooded and emails flooded that state and demanded, wait a minute, we're doing everything. And they bent and we got everything. And then they just flexed to a different game. And it's all the same people. It's always the same people. It's always the same way. I want to push back on, courts are very hard to trust. And I know we have a lot of reasons to lose faith in our courts. But damn it, we fucked this up ourselves. We trust who talks the loudest, not who presents the facts. We talk who has the most wonderful, wild story because it was actually people in Ethiopia that were Muslims. And you can buy your head that there's some, buy around your head there's some fucking Dr. Evil that did it. What you can't get your head around is if you got to look at every damn thing in unison, every single piece there is, and then you finally see it and you realize your own fucking government did it to you. And that's just hard to swallow. But yet you fund all of this stuff. You funded all those defenses. You watch that attorney not even understanding what he's talking about, who made sure they could never use my evidence because he started bad-mouthing me early on. And so he created the loophole knowing he was going to be the only one to get the case. He knew it in advance because then they can't use my stuff on the court, even if it was forced to, because they would just say, well, Mr. Blum, you said this guy's a shit con. Why do you have him here as a witness? They planned it all. They did it in advance. In my book, all I'm stating is words matter, rules matter. But I think a lot of this was pre-decided. And in my opinion, this shit was sabotaged long before it ever got to court. And the shame of the fucking matter is you paid for it. And the con's still going on. Our work is not based on opinion. You don't see us running around speaking everywhere. Oh, this happened here, and this happened here, and this happened here, and this happened here, and here's what I think, and this happened here, and answer the call. We don't do that. Here is what the state and county certified. Here is what they said. And based upon what they said, here is what the physical evidence shows. There's no opinion in it at all. Zero. I'm not even rendering an opinion. I'm rendering absolute audited facts. Just here's what it says. We can't change it either way. It's just what it says. At some point, we have to embrace this. At some point, we have to realize that we've been led down a path. And at some point, we got to realize the power we fucking have. And you already know it because you even got it done in the first place by making it happen. And I frankly, I'm insulted for everybody that gave their work in Arizona to have the very people that testified basically tell you bullshit. Well, they used the right paper. That's all crap. When you got 1,000+ people testifying to it, they felt it. They saw all the differences. Do you realize all these same guys shit on your work? Don't you understand them not using all your hard efforts that you did? They just shit all over you, and you saw it with your own eyes, and you know it. And that's why they can't let it in. And that's the only reason I show this. We're staying in our lane when I tell you this is what works and why, and this is what must be focused on. There's no way to critique if you actually did it the right way, because it is the right way. I'm critiquing the system. I'm critiquing the bullshit operation. But it's not my way or the highway. I always tell you, here's exactly what the law requires, and you just see it for yourself. And if you can't see it for yourself, and you look at all these thumbs down I got on this, I guarantee you if those people were honest, those were people that worked in other things or for other people, and they can't handle the fact of what's true. And that's the truism, is the truth is the only thing that will set us free, not opinion, not conjecture, not even polls. It only comes down to provable fact. Please share this program and support our work. We desperately need you.
Our courts are based on clear and convincing evidence. Want convictions? Want justice? For what happened in the 2020 election? Then we need your help. Not fixing 2020 will damn our nation forever. The decision you make in the next few moments could decide whether we ever get our elections fixed or not. Here's why. Trump campaign and allies filed 64 different lawsuits. They all went down in flames. 100% of these cases were presented on "It's the machines," or "The machines changed the votes," or "The voting company executive said he would make sure Donald J. Trump would not win." They all went down in flames. Why? You can't bring theories to court as evidence. No supposed Zoom call or six-degree polynomial math theory or census data is or ever will be proof of fraud. You can't bring theories to court as evidence. Here's why. In both civil and criminal law, the side making a claim carries the burden of proof, and prosecutors must prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. Without physical or otherwise verifiable evidence, a case cannot meet this high threshold. Physical evidence is the key. The question is, did anyone get relevant, reliable, provable, testable, and duplicatable evidence of what really happened in the 2020 general election? And the answer is yes, absolutely. The full forensic audit of Maricopa County, Arizona is the only evidence-gathering work which gathered relevant, reliable, provable, testable, and duplicatable evidence of what really happened in the 2020 general election. Evidence so damning that the system, the deep state, and those who pull the strings of this country have fought to keep it hidden and have hoped to have it be forgotten to time. Almost $3 million invested in time, funds, and efforts to unlock that which the system wanted hidden. But now, that evidence is in danger of being lost forever. So if you want what happened in the 2020 election fixed, then we need your help. Please donate to protect and secure this historic evidence. With the 2026 midterms coming up, the system is going to try to lame duck President Trump and then most likely introduce new impeachment proceedings. This is the evidence which will help win the war which is surely to come. We need to keep Maricopa County full forensic investigation and archive secure and ongoing. So if you want what happened in the 2020 election fixed, then we need your help. Please donate to protect and secure this historic evidence. We need your help securing the full forensic audit archives. Don't allow the only testable, objective, and reliable 2020 election evidence fall into obscurity. Millions were spent on getting it documented and tested. This is historic evidence. Not fixing 2020 will damn our nation forever. The historic Maricopa County full forensic audit effort processed 20,895,610 digital and forensic images of varying formats, resulted in 208 million individual evidence-proof files. The system processed over 58 billion forensic measurements, resulting in over 2 trillion individual base computations. No hopium, no hype, just hardcore forensic evidence. Please make sure the Maricopa County full forensic audit archives survive. Donate now. So if you want what happened in the 2020 election fixed, then please donate to protect and secure this historic evidence. We can't do it without you. We need you. America needs you. Our future needs you. Please donate now. Not fixing 2020 will damn our nation forever. Please donate now.